The warning did not arrive as a scream. It came as a whisper, like a thin wind moving through metal, and the bridge crew fell quiet as the sound slid across the panels and lights. The commander stood in the center of the room with his hands behind his back and stared at the dark window of space. He had heard stories about human space since he was a young cadet. Those stories were told by old pilots with tired eyes who spoke slowly and looked over their shoulders. "Enter human space at your own risk," they said, like a curse, like a rule carved into stone. But the commander did not believe in curses. He believed in numbers, engines, shields, and the size of his fleet. "We will go in. We will chart. We will return," he said in a calm voice as the whisper faded from the speakers. "We will not fear a story." An officer cleared his throat and kept his eyes low. "Sir, the whisper is not a ghost. It is a signal fragment. It repeats every 9 seconds, but ends before we can decode it." The commander nodded once. "Play it again." The whisper returned, thin, cold, almost like breath on a window, then cut off with a soft click that felt like a door shutting. In a dark house, another officer said, "Sir, the border marker shows we are 10 minutes from the human line." The navigator's hands trembled on the controls. "Protocols say we should announce our entry." The commander took a slow breath, then spoke with a steady tone. "Announce nothing. We are a survey fleet, not beggars asking for a safe road. Keep formation. Engines at quiet run." The crew worked, but the bridge felt like a room underwater. Every sound seemed slow and heavy. Outside the window, stars looked normal, but the silence between them felt too tight, like fabric pulled hard across a frame. In the observation pit, a young comms tech looked up with wide eyes. "Sir, I think the whisper is not one signal. I think it is many signals stacked on each other." "What does that mean?" the commander asked. "It means someone wants us to hear it, but not understand," the tech said. "It is a warning in a language that refuses to sit still." "Clever," the commander said, but he felt a small knot in his chest. He remembered the old pilots again. He remembered how quiet they became when someone said the word humans. He told himself that fear grows fast in empty space, and that his mind was only filling silence with old shadows. "Keep recording," he said. "We will study it later." The fleet crossed the border like ships sliding under a black gate. No alarms sounded. No weapons appeared. No lights flashed from hidden towers. There was only the quiet, and the quiet felt like teeth. "Scan for active stations," the commander said. "Scan for traffic, for heat trails, for anything that breathes." Screens flickered, numbers crawled. The science officer spoke in a flat voice. "No stations in the near field, no traffic lanes, no heat trails in the last 20 hours. The commander frowned. "Empty?" "Yes, sir. Too empty." The navigator swallowed. "It is like a city at noon with no footsteps, or like a trap at noon with the door open," the comms tech whispered, then flinched because he had not meant to say it aloud. The commander pretended he did not hear. "Launch a probe," he said. "Slow, silent, low power. I want eyes ahead." The probe slid from its bay like a seed floating on air. It drifted on quiet engines and sent back soft pictures. A dead relay buoy with melted edges, a small asteroid with deep cuts as if a giant blade had shaved it, a field of dust that looked like smoke that forgot its fire. "Sir," the science officer said, "the cuts in the rock are too straight. They are like lines drawn by a machine that does not make mistakes." "Mining?" the commander asked. "No, not mining." The whisper returned, then changed. It stretched a little longer, like a hand reaching farther into the room. The comms tech jumped. "Sir, there is structure now. 3 parts. A call, a pause, a question." The commander kept his face blank. "If it is a question, answer it." "We do not know the language," the tech said. "Then answer with math," the commander said. "Prime numbers, a friendly hello. We are explorers." The tech sent the primes. The whisper stopped. The bridge became very, very still. After 5 heartbeats, a new sound arrived. It was not a whisper. It was a voice with edges. It spoke in clear trade tongue like a knife speaks to cloth. "Unidentified fleet," it said. "You have entered human space." The voice was calm like a teacher. "Turn around. Do not test our patience." A murmur ran through the crew. The navigator's hands froze. The science officer looked down and pretended to check numbers that were not there. The commander felt the knot in his chest pull tight. He forced his voice to stay quiet. "Transmit our peaceful purpose," he said. "Tell them we are survey. Only ask for a safe corridor, offer data exchange." The tech sent the message. The answer came at once, smooth and cold. "No corridor, no exchange. Turn around." The commander felt a slow heat rise under his skin, a heat that was not anger, but something older, like a stone waking. He pictured the maps back home, with the human border marked in red like a wound. He pictured his academy lessons about power and show. "We will proceed," he said. "One more probe. Then bring the fleet forward by 2 clicks." The bridge. Lights dimmed as the ship rebalanced power. The second probe went out, slower than a breath. It slipped through the dust field and sent back a short clip of something on the far side. It looked like a dark mountain against the stars, but it moved with purpose, and its skin did not reflect light. It swallowed it. The science officer whispered, "Ship." The navigator said, "Please say it is not close." The officer swallowed. "It is close." The voice returned, sharper now. "You are still here." The commander lifted his head and kept his tone level. "We are explorers. We mean no harm." The reply came at once. "Explorers do not come with guns." The commander did not look at the weapon status, but he felt every cannon and missile like a heartbeat under the floor. "Defensive only," he said. "We will leave after our survey." A soft laugh came through the speaker. It was not cruel. It was not loud. It was worse than both. "You do not understand your position," the voice said. "Look to your right." The window brightened as the ship turned a fraction. The crew gasped. Shapes drifted there now, shapes that had not been on any scan a breath ago. They were slender and black, and each line looked like it had been cut with a rule made by a god. They did not shine, they did not announce. They simply were, and space beside them seemed to lean away. The comms tech whispered, "How did they hide?" The science officer said, "They did not hide, they refused to be seen." The commander felt the heat in his skin cool to ice. He spoke with care. "We wish to withdraw." The voice did not. "Change. You may withdraw. Turn your ships around, engines at minimum. You will not lock weapons. You will not send signals. You will not look back." The commander thought of pride and maps and orders. He thought of his crew and their small lives, and he thought of the whisper that had been a warning and a gift, "Leave or be broken." He made the choice that did not taste like ash. "We will comply," he said. The navigator let out a breath he did not know he held. The helmsman began the slow turn. The fleet moved like a school of fish, backing out of the mouth of something very large. As they turned, the black shapes did not move, but the stars around them seemed to blink and shift, like eyes opening and closing. The commander looked at the dark window and spoke softly, not to the crew, not to the voice, but to the space itself. "We heard you." The speaker clicked once, like the sound of a lock being turned. The voice said, "Good." The whisper returned one last time, not as a threat, but as a rule spoken plain. "Enter human space at your own risk." The commander watched the border markers grow on the screen as the fleet eased away, and he understood the twist that the Old pilots never said out loud. The real danger was not an ambush. It was the decision to ignore a warning that was clear from the start. He stood very straight and kept his eyes on the stars. "We will not make that mistake again," he said, and this time the silence felt like mercy. The alien fleet drifted deeper into the strange silence of human space. The commander stood tall in the center of the bridge, his face hard, but his thoughts restless. Every screen showed the same readings. Nothing. No stations, no patrols, no civilian traffic. The emptiness itself felt alive, like an unseen presence pressing on the walls of the ship. "Scans clear, sir," the science officer reported, his voice thin. "No life signs, no power sources, no transmissions." The commander's jaw tightened. "No empire leaves its border this open," he said. "This is not natural. Keep looking." The crew exchanged nervous glances, but no one argued. They all felt it. The silence was wrong. The comms technician hesitated before speaking. "Sir, the whisper has returned." The commander turned sharply. "Play it." The sound slid through the speakers again, thin, broken and filled with static, like distant voices overlapping. This time it carried a rhythm, almost like breathing. The technician swallowed hard. "It is not random noise. It's repeating at set intervals. Someone wants us to hear it." The commander's eyes narrowed. "Then they are already watching us." The bridge went colder. One of the junior officers whispered, "If they are watching, why don't they strike?" The commander ignored the question. "Launch 3 more probes. Spread them wide. I want a full picture of this sector." The probes drifted into the void. For several long minutes, there was only silence. Then the images began to return. One showed the wreck of a satellite, its metal twisted as if burned from the inside. Another revealed a small moon, covered with impact scars, each crater lined with strange melted grooves. The third probe sent back the most chilling view, a giant ship graveyard. Hundreds of hulks floated in the dark, shattered and frozen, stripped of power. The science officer's hands trembled as he pointed to the screen. "Those are not human ships, sir. They are alien designs. Old ones, fleets from different empires, all destroyed here." The navigator leaned back, his eyes wide. "It's true then. The stories, they all died here." The commander clenched his fists, but kept his voice steady. "Silent ships do not scare me. They scare you because you look at bones and forget the war that broke them. Humans are clever, yes, but we are stronger. They cannot hold the void forever." The words sounded confident, but inside even he felt a deep unease. Suddenly the whisper cut through the speakers again, but sharper, clearer. This time it was followed by another sound, a long, low note like a horn echoing through endless tunnels. The comms technician gasped. "That is not a signal, that is a warning." Before anyone could respond, the lights on the bridge flickered. Sensors spiked. Shadows moved across the starfield. The helmsman cried out, "Contact, directly ahead!" But when the crew looked, they saw nothing but empty space. The commander ordered, "Magnify!" The view zoomed in, and their hearts froze. Dark shapes moved against the stars. They were massive, but so perfectly black they blended into the void until they shifted. Their outlines were sharp, unnatural, ships, but not like any alien fleet the commander had ever seen. The science officer's voice shook. They are human vessels." The comms channel hissed, then a voice spoke, calm and precise. "You ignored the first warning. You are trespassing." The bridge went silent. The voice was not loud, not angry, but filled with certainty. The commander forced himself to answer. "We are explorers. We do not come to fight. We wish for safe passage." There was a pause. Then the voice replied, "Explorers do not hide. Fleets in shadows. Leave now." The commander bristled. "We come with respect, but we cannot turn back without knowledge. We will proceed until our survey is complete." The voice did not respond at once. Instead, the ships ahead began to move. Silent, smooth, and fast. They encircled the alien fleet like predators surrounding prey. The navigator whispered, "They didn't warp in. They were here the whole time." "How?" The science officer shook his head. "They bend light, maybe bend space itself. They wanted us to see nothing until they chose." The commander raised his voice, trying to hold control. "Signal them again. Offer trade. Offer alliance. Something." The comms technician worked quickly, sending messages of peace and promises of exchange. There was no answer. The human ships only closed the circle tighter. Then, without warning, all the bridge lights dimmed. Every screen flickered. The fleet systems groaned as if being pulled apart. "Sir," the engineer shouted, "our power is draining. Something is eating through the grid." The crew scrambled to respond, but then the comms filled with the same cold voice. "You do not understand. This is not your space. This is not your sky. You have stepped into a graveyard, and now you must decide if you will join it." Fear rippled through the crew. The commander gritted his teeth and tried to steady his voice. "We are not enemies. Give us a chance to prove." The voice cut him off. "You already proved enough. You stayed when you were told to leave." On the screens, one of the human ships flared with sudden light. A beam shot across space, not at them, but at one of the wrecked hulks drifting nearby. The dead ship split apart in silence, torn into glowing fragments before vanishing into dust. The message was clear. The crew froze, hearts pounding. The commander finally spoke, low and heavy. "All ships, withdraw." Engines lit. The alien fleet turned, slow and careful. The human ships did not follow, but their presence filled the stars like iron bars in a cage. As the alien fleet pulled back, the whisper returned one last time. This time, the crew understood it. It was no longer garbled or broken. The voice was clear. "Enter human space at your own risk." The commander kept his eyes on the black shapes until they faded back into the void. His hands shook, but he forced them behind his back. He whispered almost to himself, "The stories were true. Humans are the dark between the stars." No one on the bridge argued. They had seen enough to know the truth, and as their fleet left the border behind, every officer swore silently that they would never cross it again. The fleet moved in silence, each alien ship sliding through the cold black as if afraid to breathe. Every officer remembered the voice, the warning, the black ships that had surrounded them like shadows with teeth. The commander sat rigid in his chair, his jaw tight, his mind circling the same thought again and again. Humans had let them live, for now. The bridge crew avoided eye contact, but their fear showed in every twitch of their hands, every shallow breath. At last, the comms technician broke the silence. "Sir, the human vessels, they are no longer on our scans." The science officer frowned. "That does not mean they are gone. It only means they no longer wish to be seen." The commander's voice was low and heavy. "Good hunters never leave the prey's eyes. They vanish and wait for a mistake." He stood and looked across the stars. "And they want us to make that mistake." The navigator turned. "Then we leave, sir. We have proof. We have seen their power. Why risk more?" But before the commander could answer, a sudden alarm cut through the bridge. One of the outer ships, a cruiser, was flashing distress signals. Its lights flickered wildly on the screens. "Report!" the commander barked. The engineer checked his panel. "Power drain, same as before. Something is inside their systems." The science officer's face paled. "It is not outside attack. It's coming from the code itself. Their ship is being rewritten." The comms filled with a desperate cry. "Hull breach! Life support failing! The signal cut to static. The cruiser vanished from the fleet's formation, swallowed by fire and silence. Gasps filled the bridge. The navigator whispered, "They destroyed it without firing a single shot." The commander's hand curled into a fist. "No! They wanted us to see." It was not an attack, it was a message. At that moment, the whisper returned. It was no longer soft or broken. It was sharp, steady, and cold. "You were told to leave." The crew froze. The commander forced his voice steady. "We are withdrawing. You saw our course. Why strike again?" The voice came back like a blade on stone. "Because one warning was not enough. You think retreat is your choice. It is not. You stay alive. Only because we allow it." The bridge went deathly quiet. Officers shifted uneasily, their fear breaking through discipline. The navigator whispered, "We are toys in their hands." The commander stared at the stars. His pride burned, but the truth cut deeper. He could not protect his fleet. "Prepare emergency jump," he ordered. "We leave this cursed place now." Engines charged. Energy swirled across the fleet. But before they could leap, the stars themselves seemed to shift. Black shapes slid into view close now, their hulls bending light around them. One appeared directly ahead of the flagship, vast and silent. Its sheer size dwarfed the alien vessel. The comms hissed. "Your choice is not to leave," the voice said. "Your choice is how many must die before you learn." The crew trembled. The helmsman stammered, "Sir, they will kill us all." For the first time, doubt cracked the commander's tone. "What do you want from us?" The answer was cold and final. "Respect, fear, distance." Suddenly, another image appeared. On the screen, one sent directly from the human ship. It was not a weapon, not a threat. It was a map, glowing red at its edges. It showed the borders of human space stretching like a wall across the galaxy. Every star within it pulsed with silent warning. "This is our graveyard," the voice said. "Step inside again, and you will join it." Then the image vanished. The black ships withdrew without sound, fading into nothing as if they had never existed. The stars were bare once more, but the silence they left behind was heavier than any battle. The bridge sat frozen until the commander spoke, his voice tight. "Engage the jump! Now!" Engines roared, light filled the viewports, and in a flash, the alien fleet tore itself out of human space. When the stars settled into familiar constellations, the crew let out breaths they had been holding. Some wept quietly, others sat in stunned silence. The commander stood tall, but his eyes were dark, with something more than fear. "We came seeking knowledge," he said. "We found truth instead. Humans are not weak. They are the shadow that swallows fleets, and their silence is louder than any war cry." The crew listened, every word sinking deep. None dared argue. They had seen the truth written in fire and ash. The commander turned his gaze toward the distant line of stars where human space lay hidden. His voice dropped to a whisper, almost a vow. "Enter human space at your own risk," he said. "The last mistake you'll ever make." And in that silence, every soul on the ship knew the legend was no longer just a story. It was a law of the galaxy. The alien fleet had barely escaped the black silence of human space, yet the fear inside every officer's chest did not fade. The stars around them felt brighter now, but the memory of those shadow ships clung to the air like smoke. The commander stood stiff on the bridge, staring at the star map glowing before him. His jaw was tight, his hands locked behind his back. "We should report at once," the navigator said quietly. "The council must know what we faced." The science officer shook his head. "If we tell them, they will call us cowards. They will say we imagined it. They will not believe," the comms technician added. His voice was bitter. "No one believes until they see." The commander's eyes narrowed. "Then we will show them. We will capture proof. Something that cannot be denied." Gasps filled the room. The helmsman turned to him with wide eyes. "Sir, you can't mean to go back. They warned us." "They also let us leave alive," the commander said, his voice firm. "Why? To spread fear, to spread legend. But we are not slaves to their shadows. If we want respect, we must face them. Otherwise, the galaxy will laugh at us for fleeing like frightened children." Silence fell. The crew wanted to argue, but no one dared. Pride burned brighter than reason, and the commander's pride weighed heavier than all. The fleet turned once more toward the border. Engines hummed. Fear spread like frost across the bridge. Hours passed as they crept closer. At first, nothing stirred. Then, as the first probe crossed the invisible line, the whisper returned. This time, it was stronger, like a low growl pressing against their bones. The comms shook with static. "You were warned," the cold voice said. "You should have stayed away." The commander lifted his chin. "We come for proof. If you wish to be feared, then show your face." The reply came at once. "As you wish." The stars blinked. The void shifted. And suddenly, they were not alone. Black ships emerged from the darkness, not from warp, not from speed, but as if they had always been there, waiting. Dozens, hundreds. Their sleek hulls bent the light, making the very stars vanish behind them. The helmsman's breath caught. "There are too many." Before he could finish, the first strike came. A thin beam of crimson light tore across space, slicing through one of the alien cruisers. No explosion followed, just silence, as the ship split cleanly into pieces and drifted apart like a broken toy. The bridge shook with panic. With "Shields up! Return fire!" the commander roared. Alien cannons lit the void, spraying fire across the human ships, but the blasts never landed. The weapons vanished into thin air, absorbed by something unseen. The humans moved like predators, in a hunt, swift, precise, merciless. Another alien vessel screamed through the comms before vanishing in flame. A battleship's core cracked open with one silent strike. Every minute, another ship died. The science officer's hands trembled over his console. "Our weapons, they cannot touch them. It's like they fight in a different layer of space." The comms technician shouted, "They're in our systems again. Codes breaking, power dropping." The bridge lights flickered. Sparks showered. "The floor! Hold the line!" the commander roared. His pride was a shield against despair. "They bleed like any species. Hit them." But the truth mocked him. The humans did not bleed. They did not falter. Their black ships glided through the chaos like blades through silk. A new message filled the comms, calm and cold. "You were told. This is your punishment." The helmsman turned, sweat dripping down his face. "Sir, we can't win. We must escape." The commander's jaw clenched. His pride screamed to keep fighting, but his eyes saw the truth. Ship after ship fell, burning wrecks floating in the silence. Soon nothing would remain. "Signal all vessels," he said, his voice raw. "Emergency jump, now!" Engines roared as the fleet tried to tear itself free. But the humans were faster. A wall of black ships shifted, cutting off their escape like a net around prey. Then something unexpected happened. The humans did not strike again. Their ships held position, blocking every path. The voice returned. "You will leave, but you will not forget." On the screens, images appeared, burning wreckage from other fleets, old battles, entire armadas broken and scattered across human space. It was a gallery of death, a warning carved in stars. The commander felt his chest tighten. His pride collapsed into silence. He lowered his head and whispered, "We understand." The human ships shifted, opening a single corridor through the void. "Leave," the voice said. "This is your last mercy." The alien fleet, broken and bleeding, slid into the corridor. Engines flared, and one by one, they vanished into hyperspace. When the stars calmed, the survivors sat in stunned silence. On the bridge, no one dared to speak. The commander stared at the floor, his hands trembling though he tried to hide it. At last, he spoke in a hollow voice. "Humans do not fight wars," he said. "They end them before they begin." The crew exchanged haunted glances. They all knew the truth now. Human space was not a border. It was a trap that devoured pride, fleets, and hope itself. Far behind them, the whisper lingered in their minds. "Enter human space at your own risk. The last mistake you'll ever make." The alien fleet limped home like wounded animals, their hulls scarred, their numbers cut in half. Silence filled the flagship's bridge, the kind of silence that pressed on the skin and made the air feel heavy. No one spoke of the ships they had lost. No one dared to count the dead. They were alive, but the weight of survival felt darker than death. The commander stood at the center, his uniform torn at the sleeve, his eyes hollow. He stared at the glowing map on the main screen. The line of human space pulsed like a scar across the galaxy. He could not look away. "Message from High Council," the comms officer whispered. His voice was thin, almost afraid to disturb the quiet. "They demand a full report. They want to know why so many ships are gone." The commander's jaw tightened. "Of course they do." The bridge crew shifted nervously. One officer dared to speak. "Sir, if we tell them the truth, they will not believe us. They will say we invented ghosts. They will say you failed." "They will call us cowards," another muttered. The commander's gaze hardened. "Then they will hear the truth from a coward who lived." The fleet docked at the homeworld, where great towers of glass and steel pierced the sky. As the survivors disembarked, crowds gathered to watch. Whispers spread like fire through the city. Why were so few ships returning? Why were their mighty warriors walking with hollow eyes? The council hall was vast, filled with golden light and the sharp scent of stone polished too often. Rows of leaders sat high above, their eyes cold and demanding. The commander was called forward. He walked slowly, his steps echoing across the chamber. "Report!" one elder snapped. "Why does half our fleet not stand behind you?" The commander lifted his head. "Because half our fleet is gone." Murmurs rippled across the hall. Another elder leaned forward. "Gone? By whose hand?" The commander's voice was steady, but his words carried the weight of ashes. "Humans!" The chamber erupted in laughter. Some scoffed, some shook their heads. One councillor sneered, "Humans? The weak, scattered species? The ones with fragile colonies and no empire? Do not insult us." The commander did not flinch. "You call them weak because you have never seen their true face. I have. Explain," the head elder demanded. So he did. He told them of the whisper that came before the border, of the voice that spoke in the dark, of the black ships that moved like shadows, unseen until they chose to appear. He spoke of the silent destruction, weapons that cut without sound, codes that bled into their systems and tore ships apart from the inside. He told them how humans never shouted, never boasted, never explained. They only gave warnings, and then they killed. Some councillors listened with widening eyes. Others laughed louder, waving their hands. "You disgrace your rank with stories of phantoms," one said. "No species fights as you claim. It is impossible." The commander's voice sharpened. "It is not impossible. It is inevitable. Humans are not soldiers. They are predators. They do not defend borders. They build graveyards." The hall went tense. The head elder narrowed his eyes. "If what you say is true, why are you alive? Why would they let you return if they are the monsters you claim?" The commander's throat tightened. He remembered the voice, calm and cold, offering them one corridor of mercy. He remembered the burning wrecks that showed what happened to others who did not obey. "They let us live because fear is stronger when carried home," he said quietly. "They wanted us to spread their warning, and now I have." The councillors whispered among themselves. Some looked troubled, others angry. One elder slammed a fist on the table. "Nonsense! Humans are dust. They hide behind technology and tricks. We will crush them with the full might of our armada." The commander's temper broke. His voice thundered across the chamber. "Then you will doom us all." The hall fell silent. Every eye locked on him. He continued, his words sharp as blades. "I watched our weapons vanish into nothing. I watched our strongest ships sliced apart like paper. I watched systems die before hands could touch controls. And I watched humans move through it all with silence and precision. You think they are dust? No, they are the darkness between the stars, and they choose who walks away alive," one counselor sneered. "So you fear them?" "Yes," the commander said. His voice did not shake. "I fear them because I understand them. They are not conquerors. They are executioners. They do not seek glory. They do not seek land. They wait. They watch. And when someone crosses into their space, they make an example. We were that example. If we send more ships, they will burn more, until all of us are dust." The words hung in the air like a curse. The head elder leaned back, his face unreadable. "And what do you propose?" "Commander, shall we tremble at shadows forever?" The commander lowered his head, his voice heavy with truth. "No. We respect the shadows. We mark their borders. We never cross again. That is the only way we survive." The council sat in silence, the golden light flickering across their grim faces. They wanted to call him a liar, but his eyes held the weight of a man who had walked through death and returned. At last, the head elder spoke. "Leave us. We will decide." The commander bowed and turned away. As he walked out of the hall, he heard the murmurs rising again, some filled with doubt, some with fear, and some with dangerous pride. Outside, the city lights glowed, but to the commander, they felt dim. He whispered to himself, words only he could hear. "Enter human space at your own risk, the last mistake you'll ever make." And though the council might argue, though the empire might scheme, he knew the truth. The humans had given him one gift, greater than survival. They had given him fear, sharp and unforgettable. And fear, he realized, was the strongest weapon in the galaxy. The story spread the way cold spreads through metal, slow first, then everywhere at once, moving from docks to markets, from pilots' lounges to palace halls, until even children, in far moons, whispered it in play. Enter human space at your own risk. The commander did not feed that fire. He tried to quiet it. He stood before schools and said, "Respect their border and you will live." And he sat with soldiers in dim canteens and said, "Pride is a beautiful road that ends in a cliff." But rumors run faster than truth. Traders swore they saw black ships that swallowed starlight. Miners claimed a human voice had counted primes in their helmet radio and then said, "Leave." A small empire scoffed. Its warlord laughed at the fear and raised a cup in a gold hall. "Stories do not cut a man," he said. "I will step across their line and bring back a piece of their darkness for my belt." When his officers warned him, he waved a jeweled hand. The galaxy shakes because of silence? Foolish. He launched 12 ships. They made noise and light and bold messages that said, "We do not fear." They did not return. The commander watched the news arrive like ash on wind. He spoke to the council again. "You see, the legend is not a ghost. It is a door that only opens one way." The head elder tapped the arm of his chair. "What do they want?" The commander answered softly, "Almost nothing. That is the part that should terrify you." The council argued for weeks. Some shouted, "Rally all. Empires, strike first," others whispered, "Make a pact to leave their sky alone." During this noise, a different message arrived, carried by an old merchant ship with patchwork hull and a captain who wore fear the way others wore coats. "I have something," he told the port guard, "and I will only show it to a man who has stood in the human dark and returned." They brought him to the commander. In a quiet room with grey walls, the captain placed a block on the table. It was simple and black, not metal, not stone, warm like a living thing. "A drift boy pushed it into my cargo bay," he said. I did not open it. The box opened me. It spoke the way a wind speaks through a narrow cave. The commander leaned close. What did it say? The captain stared at nothing. It said, "There will be negotiations." Then it closed my mouth from the inside. The commander lifted the box with careful hands. It changed in his palms, a seam appearing like an eye opening. A small light pulsed within, slow and calm. A voice filled the room. It was not the same cold blade they had heard in human space. This one was warmer, like water running over stone. "You carry fear with skill," it said. "Good. Fear has kept you alive." The commander set the box down and kept his voice even. "You gave us reason to learn it." The light did not flicker. "Your council will form a circle in a place of their choosing outside our border, where no weapon is hidden and no code reaches for another. We will send one voice. You will send one voice. We will exchange 3 things: terms, distances, and promises." The commander felt the hair rise on his neck. "Why now?" The box answered, "Because the galaxy is loud. Loudness draws ash. We prefer quiet." He swallowed. "If we say no?" The box replied, "Then the legend grows without structure. Panic makes sharp corners. Sharp corners cut civilians first. We do not want that." The commander exhaled slowly. "I will carry this to the council." The voice faded. The box went to sleep in his hands as if it were tired. The council sat in a wide hall of glass. Storms rolled across the sky outside like heavy thoughts. The commander told them the words. The elders argued again, but softer now, as if afraid. The walls listened. In the end, they agreed, because even pride knows when a cliff edge is near. The circle was set in a neutral system, a bright, empty place with a slow white star and no moons to hide guns. Rings of ships from many empires hung. Back at the safe line, silent and still, watching with held breath. In the center, on a small platform, the commander stood alone, with a single relay drone behind him, unarmed, unarmored, broadcasting his voice for all to hear. He felt small. He felt clean. He felt like a man with both hands open. Nothing moved, for a long time. Then the light changed. A shadow fell that had no source. It was not a ship. It was not a person. It was a shape that suggested both and neither. A fold in the idea of space, and from that fold a voice spoke, not from speakers, not from air, but from the first place in the heart where fear learns to read. "We are present." The commander steadied his breath. "We hear you." He waited for the cut, the demand, the threat. Instead, the voice said, "We want your people to live." He blinked. "You... what?" "Life is quieter than war," the voice said. "War calls scavengers. Scavengers become storms. We keep storms away from our door. If you stay away from our door, the storm does not grow." The commander dared to ask, "What are you to the galaxy?" The answer came without music. A boundary. He found courage in the plainness. "Then let us draw it with ink instead of blood. Give us a clear map, distances that no ship will cross. In return, we will enforce that line among our own." The fold in space pulsed once. "Agreed. Add this: we will protect caravans that flee war if they do not try to settle inside our sky. We will return lost children. We will not teach our ways, lend our weapons, or take contracts. We will not be your wall, your blade, or your judge. We will only be your neighbor." The commander felt a tightness he did not know he carried loosen in his chest. "And if a tyrant tests you?" The voice was a winter river. "We will answer that tyrant in a language he understands." The stars seemed to lean. In across the safe line, thousands of listeners, soldiers, traders, thieves, kings, held their breath on that single sentence. The commander bowed his head. "Then hear our promise. We will mark your border. Teach our children to fear it, and build our roads around it. We ask one more thing." The fold waited. "Speak. Send a warning when someone strays close," the commander said. "Not every pilot who drifts toward your dusk is proud. Some are lost, some are desperate. Mercy makes better stories." For a heartbeat, the fold was very still. Then the voice said, "We have been doing that since before your great-grandparents learned to say home, but we will make the whisper louder." A soft light passed through the platform, and when it faded, a simple beacon sat at the commander's feet. A grey cone with a single etched sentence in 100 scripts. He read the one he knew. "Enter human space at your own risk." He looked up. "You know our languages." "We know patterns," the voice replied. "Words are only patterns that learn to walk." The negotiations ended without a handshake, without a treaty carved in gold. Instead, the fold of space softened like cloth released from a fist and was gone. The commander stood alone again, the beacon humming at his toes like a small living thing. He carried it home. The council set the beacons along the star maps, not as trophies, but as lighthouses that warned in clear tones, "Turn back." Patrols were assigned, not to invade, but to shepherd fools away from the red glow at the edge of the chart. In markets, guides sold little charms shaped like narrow black ships and said, "Wear this and remember your lane." Children drew borders in chalk on school floors and learned to stop at the line. A few still tested it. A pirate crossed and returned with his engines cut neatly in half and a new hull plate welded on that read, "No." A slaver ran for the border and cried, "Let the monsters take me." He vanished, and years later a grown child he had caged found a small sealed package on her doorstep with her name written in a hand that was not quite a hand. Inside was a key, a map and a note that said, "Go." The legend did not shrink, it changed shape. It became a rule spoken softly at night by elders who wanted their families to wake in the morning. It became a quiet pact between empires that had never agreed on anything before. This line saves lives. The commander grew older. He walked under calmer skies. Once, in the dusk of a city park, a young cadet stopped him and asked, "Do you think they hate us?" He smiled with tired kindness. "No, I think they love their home so much that they learn to become its shadow." The cadet frowned. "Will they ever be our friends?" He looked at the stars, where the dark seam still lay like a sleeping giant. "Maybe friendship is the wrong word," he said. "Maybe neighbor is enough." The cadet nodded slowly, as if fitting a new word into a place where fear used to live. That night, when the city lights dimmed and the sky opened like a great black door, the beacons hummed in patient rhythm across the charts of 100 worlds. In ports and palaces and quiet rooms, people repeated the old sentence, not as a threat now, but as a simple truth with teeth and mercy both. Enter human space at your own risk. The last mistake you'll ever make. And because the line was clear, the storm stayed small, and the galaxy, wary, watchful, alive, kept breathing.